Hi, I'm Kate Bonner for the Water Cooler Diaries on KBTVonline. Thanks for joining. Welcome to part 2 of our adventure to the island of Anguilla. This 35 square mile island, home to just 12,300 people, is part of the British West Indies, although one of the lesser known islands in the Caribbean. It boasts 33 beaches that are said to be some of the most desirable in the Caribbean. With a monthly mean temperature of 80 degrees and very little rainfall, this island is a haven for honeymooners and, as we soon found out, rich retirees who frequent the exclusive resorts and 5-star dining establishments. But what Rachel and I soon discovered is that the island's untarnished tranquility makes it different from most Caribbean islands, and why it's the site of the most traditional of the Caribbean jazz festivals. People traveled from as far as New York and as close as the other side of the island, which, by the way, is only a 30-minute drive from end to end, to hear a blend of local musicians and jazz headliners, like pianist and scat vocalist Diana Shore and American jazz vocalist Cassandra Wilson jam in front of sold-out crowds. The ethos of the festival, traditional American jazz, not pop jazz music, was very much aligned with the feeling of the island itself, sort of untarnished purity, uncompromised tranquility, which Rachel and I got a first-hand look at during that off-the-beaten-path tour with our native-born Anguillan taxi cab driver.
They're very edible. You want to try one?
Yeah. Our first stop was Meads Bay. It's a small stretch of beach on the west side of the island that's a favorite of locals. Our taxi driver, Will Hodge, told us that he used to fish there as a boy. Anguilla has 33 beaches. The most popular is Shoal Bay on the east end. But which beach is best depends, according to the locals, on what kind of mood you're in and the time of day. We also swung by the Cove, one of the last underdeveloped beaches on the island. Our next stop was a favorite local eatery called Tastey's Restaurant. This Caribbean-style restaurant, which seats about 50 people, was started by a local Anguillan man who began his career working as a kitchen boy at one of the hotels and went on to become a celebrity chef of the island. Dale Carty, a classically French-trained chef, prepares all kinds of fresh seafood dishes, including the authentic Anguillan dish, snapper with rice and peas.
I always knew I wanted to be a chef because one day I wanted to cook, because I was always in the kitchen of my grandmother, always being like her tail in the kitchen, watching how to do this, watching how to do that, you know, and I have a passion for food in general. I love food. I love to eat. I love to see it prepared. So it's always been a passion of mine. I started out doing dishes, and not what I really wanted to do, but I thought to myself, this is a start. I worked in France with the Rostens family for quite some time, and then I realized that Anguilla never really had a good local restaurant.
Well, what's interesting is I found it's almost like you're using your French training with the indigenous ingredients, like the fish and the vegetables, and that's what came through for me. Is that
very much so? That was the whole idea and concept, you know, for tourists to be able to appreciate it, so as locals to appreciate it too, and still not move away from the identity of the island food. My dreams is to become eventually not just to own my own restaurant, not just to own this restaurant, but to be able to be a chef consultant, to be able to put my signature dishes on my signature menus and all over the world. Taste it. And I said, that sounds good. Taste it, sound good. And then I said, you know what? I think my food is gonna taste good, so I'm gonna go with Tastey's.
I love that. That's
I went with Tastey's, and that was it, you know, and it just rolled from there. And that's how Tastey's really came. But it wasn't easy. I was going through lots of different names, trying to decide which one do I use.
During our trip, we had the opportunity to meet with a lot of Anguillans, from whom we learned some very interesting facts. For instance, the word Anguilla, it means eel. Probably a name given to the island for its long, narrow shape. It was first coined in 1493, which was the time that Christopher Columbus was reportedly sailing past Anguilla. Our final stop was an old Catholic church, one of many churches on the island. Standing by the old church, which was dwarfed by a new church being erected next to it, pretty much encapsulated the unique dichotomy that exists in Anguilla. rows of exclusive resorts and five-star restaurants, juxtaposed with windy two-lane roads and small cement homes with goats tied in the yard. It's an unlikely mix of progress and untouched purity. It was there that Rachel and I met a little Anguillan girl named Shanita. She had been watching us from across the street from the window of her house. Finally, she got up the nerve and she ran across the street and she asked to have her picture taken with Rachel and me. Of course, we obliged, but then she grabbed my hand and she asked us if she could come back to America with us. So I look at Rachel, I look back at her, I look at Rachel, I look back at her, and I said, "I'm sorry, honey, we can't take you back to America." And then she was quite surprised when I asked her if we could stay. Thanks for joining today. I'm Kate Bonner for the Water Cooler Diaries on KBTV Online.